So hello everyone, welcome again to the NextTS rule course, and today we are going to our 11th class, which will be about single customer get and delete hook. We are going to create a hook for getting only a single customer, a specific one, and another hooks for deleting a specific customer too. Just one thing that I want to recap from the last class, which was we were creating the hooks for and effectively using this hook for creating a new customer. And one of the things that we haven't done was taking a look in the error message. So basically, for taking a look how the error will look like, remember that we have the two types of errors. Basically, the first error will be when you don't fill up the form, which will appear and is handled. If we will go to the component here, it is handled by React form hooks. And another type of error, which is when your request is not successful, when you do a post request to the server or whatever you want to do the post request, and this post request fails or something wrong goes in the middle of the way. And another a way of testing this basically will be deleting our mock that we created. So if we delete this mock here, we won't have an interceptor, so we won't have a response for the post request, and then probably the error will be triggered. I will just reload that page here, and I will put some information here, and I will put create, and as we can see, we got the error here. The major error, and after 4 seconds the error disappeared because we have created a timeout function on the last class, remember? So going back to the content of the class 11 for today, let's get back and insert, just put again the thing that we just have deleted, and let's go directly to the content of this class, which is adding a hook now for getting a single customer and also deleting a customer. Unfortunately, we are not going to use this. We are just going to create, like we did in the other classes, we are just going to create the hooks and the fetch functions, but we are not going to test this into the component. For testing this into the component effectively, we are going to do this in the class 12. And basically the first thing that we are going to do, as we have created already several hooks, this won't be difficult for us. But the first thing is that we don't have the fetch for this get a single customer, and also for the delete request, HTTP request. But so basically that's the first thing that we are going to create now. And as we created the get customers and create customer function, let's create first the get a single customer, which will be export. It will be a synchronous function because all the HTTP requests are asynchronous functions basically. And this instead of being get customers will be get customer only. And this will receive an ID of the customer that we are trying to query this, and we will basically return a promise. And this single customer, instead of returning an array of customer, we will return a single customer, as we are planning for this function to return. So we have already the scope of the function, and the only thing that we need to do is we'll basically receive the data from, remember that we have our access instance. We are just going to use this again, this function here, get access instance. And basically we are going to call it and do a get request. We are doing a get request, but this time in another guy we are doing on this path here. We are doing a get on this under this path here. Basically, I will copy here and I will copy and paste here for you guys, and will be on this path here. So it will be a get on dash customers dash the ID attribute that we received in this on this function basically, and then we are going to just return that data. And please don't forget about the await, because this is a asynchronous function, and you know that Javascript and Typescript works on behalf of promises, which is when you do an asynchronous process. Basically, if you don't put this await here, basically this process will be executing another thread in a parallel thread of the main thread, and basically this will return undefined data because the data hasn't been returned yet. because now we have two threads running, and when you have a wait, you need to, we basically still have two threads, but you block your main thread until this promise is resolved, and when this promise is resolved, you have the data finally to return. You will have the planned successful data if everything went well, or we are going to have an error and an exception will be thrown, and React hooks will take care of all of this for you. So, and the next function will be for deleting a customer. It will be async, export async function again. The name of the function will be delete customer, and this will receive the same ID that we have received in the last function that we have created, and this will return a promise. Usually delete request doesn't return nothing to the user, but this one will, of course, that is a promise, so it needs to return a promise, but it could be a promise without nothing inside. But for that case, we are using Axios response, which is the default response that Axios send every time our Axios instance does some kinds of some sort of request. So we are going to do the same thing. It will be return await, get Axios instance again, but this time will be a delete method, and we are going to do in the same path that we are doing for delete for the get request. So everything is okay here. The file is also formatted, and here is the application is executing. This won't affect the execution of at this point this will not affect the execution of the application yet, so we can stop running the application here. I left this running since I was recording another class, and now we can go to hooks basically, and now we are going to create the hooks. Basically, we only have the hooks for use customers and for use mutation create customer, and now we are going to create a new query which will be use customer only, not use customers, because it's for a single customer, and it will be export function use customer, and this will receive the same ID that we want to pass to our HTTP request. This will be the string, and this will return use query result, the same one that we use it for getting all the customers. And basically this will return use query, and we need to pass some attributes to this. The first will be, we will name this. Remember that we need to add a name for this. It's just like a tag for this. It will be customer, and then it can be many names, like it will be customer and ID for this case. And then I need to put another one callback function here, which will receive, which is my get customer, which is the HTTP fetch function that we just have created. And finally, some attributes for this. We are going to put enabled this just to check that we are using we are sending effectively an ID to this guy. So everything is well with that function here. We already have the hooks for that function, and we are going to export, creating now the hooks for deleting. We choose a mutation too, because we are mutating data, we are changing data, we are deleting data. So function use mutation. I will copy the same title, but will be use mutation delete customer, and then I can start writing my function. It will be a use mutation result, the same one that we have for created, because it is a mutation as well. And here we just need to pass some parameters, some generic parameters. And it will be basically the same thing that we did for create mutation, but the only change, the thing that changes here is basically here, which is a string, because we are just using we are just passing and returning a string in this. So it will be Axios response any unknown is string and unknown. If you want to know all the attributes that need to be sent to that function, we just need to go to command if you are using Mac, or control. Just keep this button pressed if you are using Windows with control, and then use mutation result. And then here we will be able to see all the, not only mutation result, it is just, it will be actions response will be this one actually, it will be use mutation result, and we'll be able to see all the guys that you need to fill here, all the, so basically our error we are setting as a null, our data will be any, and the variables will be in a string, and the context like we set here will be unknown too. We don't need to set most of those guys here, and the delete as well. So the only thing that we need to do here now, it is a return, use mutation, the name will be customer again, and then this will be it will receive an ID which is as a string, and we'll return here we need to pass the delete HTTP fetch function that we created in our fetch.ts file. It will be delete customer and passing the ID that we received. So everything's good to go here. We have finalized this one too. Let's just execute npm runlink for formatting the two files that we just have added new content. Okay, everything's good here, we are good to go finally. And the next thing that we need to do is effectively creating the hooks for intercepting those HTTP requests. So the first thing that I need to do, as we are querying a single user, you are doing a GET request. So we need to basically intercept this GET request. But as now we are using, basically when we want to query for a single user, we are basically going to do this kind of HTTP request. It will be HTTP or HTTPS, but we can put HTTP only. Imagine that we are running our local host, so and also import 3000, and then will be customers, remember, but then for querying a single user will be customer and then the ID of the user. It will be like this. For example, let's imagine that the ID of some user is 20. It will be like this. But now for intercepting this request, we are going to use a regex, which is regular expression for matching if the URL that we are trying, that the delete or the GET request is trying to do, it is the same one that we are expecting to intercept. So it will be constant. We are going to create a URL and a new regexp, and basically this will be, this guy here will be customers and whatever it goes here. And then okay, I will put I will create first my own GET request. It will be mock on GET, the same one that we did for getting all the customers, but now we are getting a single one. And then URL, and then dot reply, and then here we can create a function, a callback function that will treat the result that we intercept, and we are going to get to return some sort of result. So it will receive a config, and then the only thing that we need to do is now filling this function with some information. Let's first one of the things that we need to take a look here first will be, we need to take a look if the config.url is valid. Is not only if it is valid, but just take a look if this exists. And then we are going to extract the ID from the URL that we received. So it will be config URL, and then we are going to do a substring on that guy, and we are going basically to do a config URL again, and we are getting the last guy of the URL, which is basically our ID, and last index of this guy here of dash, because after the dash we have the last, we know that the last thing it is a +1, which will be the ID. So we are going to do a substring in all the URL that we have, and get only the last part after the last after this last slash. So, and this will retrieve the ID for us, and then here we are going to get a customer, which is an customer, and or an undefined, because it can be that this guy cannot be found on our data, and then we are going to use our simple customer data and find for the ID that we received in the URL. So we are going to do a find function, and basically this will be a value, which is an iCustomer. Remember that the find function from JavaScript and also Typescript is basically doing an iteration between all your data that we have, and then we need to pass a callback function to that returns basically a logic expression that will identify if this logic expression is true. It will basically get this one of this data and return for us. What I mean, it means that I just passed this function here that it will iterate between all the data that we have, in the case simple customer data, and then I need to return then a logical expression like value dot id it is equals the ID that I want. So basically it will iterate between through all the data that I have in this array, applying this condition here. If this condition matches, it will return this to the customer, and it will be effectively the customer that we are searching, we have been looking for. And then finally I will just return here, return HTTP to 200 and the customer that we found. But if the config or URL is not valid, we are basically just do else return 500, which is server-side error, and just a single string like response. This doesn't matter so much yet. And now I will format my file here, npm run lint. Just remember all the class I will do this command for you guys to also get used to it, because you don't need to waste your time formatting all the file. Of course that you can run this, and also Visual Studio Code has the shortcuts for also formatting your file automatically. And basically here we can go to our delete. It will be mock again, but this time on delete request. And we are passing the URL too, because the delete request will be the same of the get request, but the difference that it is a delete HTTP request. And then we are doing a reply, and then the function config again that receives a config parameter, and here we have our function. So here we are going to do the same thing. You can just create, just grab everything from the last one function that we created and copy this. I mean the if clause and the else clause, and copy and paste this. And basically the only thing that we are going to change here, because they are quite similar. The only thing that we are going to change here, it is this guy here, because as we are deleting the data from a data set that we already have, we basically need to first find where this data is located in our simple customer data. Like imagine that I want to delete the 40 or the 30 customer of the array that I have. The first thing I need to find that this guy is located in the third index of the array. In the index 3 and the index 2, and after I locate this guy, I will need to splice to delete this guy from the array, so this guy will be deleted from my sample data. So as this is the same thing that I did in the get one. We used find for finding, because in the URL we have the ID of the guy. We just did a substring and found this ID, and then we basically just executed the find function and passed the logical expression that will satisfy the ones that has the same value of our ID that we have in our URL. And the only thing that we need to do now is get sample customer data, which is the array of the dummy of the sample data that we have, and do a splice in index and 1. And basically what we need to change here, I'm not interested in the whole data now, and I just want the index, so this will be a number. I just want the position of the array where this user is located. just so that here I will need to change here to find index instead of find. And the logical expression will be the same, but I don't want the whole data. Imagine that the customer that I want to delete is in the third position of the array. I just want the index of the array, which is the index 2. Remember that arrays, the index starts by 0, and then I will just return a sample string here on the response, because as I said in the delete request, we usually don't we don't return nothing. We don't effectively return the thing that we are trying to delete because we have already deleted it. Okay, and now I will run npm run linked again for formatting our data again. And as this class will take a little bit long, we are not inserting this into our components now. We are just run npm run dev just to take a look if we haven't done anything wrong in the middle of the way. So if we run here, everything will be good because we haven't applied those hooks and those things that we have done in our components yet. So I will talk a little bit about class 12, which is the next class where we effectively going to apply those hooks and everything that we have created in this class into our component. But basically, before doing that, we need to also create a component, a component for viewing a single customer, the information of a single customer. And remember, which of these guys get customer has been already declarated. So let's go to our hooks. Everything, we have done something wrong here. Use get customer. Okay, we have doubled this twice. I just need to compile to delete this. Okay, and then I will be good to go. Okay, everything's okay. I just doubled this guy. But anyways, then in the next class we are going to create a component for effectively checking a single user. And basically checking a single user is when we click in one of the users that we have displayed in our table, and this will take us to a page that only shows the attributes of these users. For example, if we click in Darth Vader name here, it will show to us only the name, the telephone, and the credit card of this specific user. And there will be two another buttons. That will be a button for updating this user and also a button for deleting this user. That will be deleting the hooks that we have created this class. So thanks a lot, you guys, for this class again. In the next class, we are going to create the component. And cheers, it was a pleasure to teach and to learn with you guys, and see you in the next class.